Vic at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. It is game week, everybody. It is officially game week, just 3 days away until our Philadelphia Eagles kick off in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Johnny Mac, good Tuesday to you, man. How you doing on this Tuesday morning?
Good. I hope everybody had a nice Labor Day weekend, and here we go. Typically, you're ramping up for a Sunday game, but it'll be here before you know it. Friday night, Sao Paulo, Brazil, amongst 21 million people in the area. So if you're going, good luck.
Anybody in our chat going? I'd love to see if anybody's in the going. I know we had the one guy last week who's down there. He'll be there. So looking forward. If you guys are going to that Brazil game, definitely drop us a comment. I'll respond to all comments now and after the show for those who are going down to Brazil. I want to welcome everybody in this morning, man. It's a big week here, not only on JAKIB Sports, but all over Philadelphia and the NFL world. But we're Philly fans, so we're looking for the Eagles game. So it's big, man. We waited all off season. We did shows all off season, and now it's officially here. The Philadelphia Eagles will take on the Green Bay Packers in Sao Paulo just 3 days from now. So good stuff there. Johnny Mac, man, you were down there this weekend. We'll have Jeff Kerr, by the way, later on in the show today. But you were down there this weekend. What did you learn? What came out of the practices and what you got to talk to the coaches and players about this weekend as we head into Sao Paulo on Friday?
Yeah, I think the most notable thing is there's so much emphasis on the trip. I think, that's been a little bit taken away from the football aspect of it. I think, Nick didn't get one question about the Packers the last time we talked to him. A little bit yesterday with Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore. Vic Fangio had a great quote about the Packers offense, calling them an all-day sucker. So get ready for an explosive offense, a very diverse offense that can beat you in a number of ways. And the locker rooms were open for the first time this year. So that's always a big day for reporters. And whether fans know it or not, it should be a big day for them because you're capable of getting a lot more information when that happens. So that's a big day of the NFL season, and that came over the weekend. As far as individual players, talked about Bryce Huff being in the crosshairs of Vic Fangio back in the spring and the summer, and him being very honest about him. Cooper DeJean was the one taking the shrapnel this week and, basically saying he's doing a good job. With that said, he's not ready. Sort of the old backhanded compliment by Vic. And
Vic loves a backhanded compliment, Johnny.
He does.
Yeah.
He really does. And I don't think he looks at it that way. He's just like, again, he's very honest and he gives his opinion in the moment. And I'm trying to get the exact quote. I think he's as prepared as he can be, but having said that, not where he needs to be is the exact quote. And then all of a sudden we go out to the limited portion of practice we get to see on Monday. I got to figure out what day it is. Monday. So yesterday. And all of a sudden Jahan Dotson is taking the backup punt return reps. And what does that mean? Well, doesn't mean much as far as Britton Covey's the punt returner, but that had been Cooper DeJean's role when he got healthy. So that's an indication perhaps that he's not even going to be active in Sao Paulo, which I think would upset some people. But they shouldn't be. I mean, you're trying to win a football game, and I think Jeremiah Trotter Jr. might not be active because now you have Warren Burks back and you have Ben Van Sumeren. And those are better special teams players. So, again, you're trying to cobble together the group that can win the football game. So, be prepared for little things like that.
No doubt about it, John. What do you know about this Packers team, John, as we prepare to go down there? I know Vic, as you mentioned, he mentioned that high-powered offense. They can beat you in a lot of different ways. Jordan Love, I mean, last year was his first year starting. He looked like a stud last year. Now, let's see if he can do it again. But, I mean, I think he had 42 or 43 on the passing yards, 30-plus touchdowns, only 10 or 11 interceptions. The guy had a hell of a year. What do you expect from this team? This is going to be a tough test in opening week 1 here, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, it is. And they have a lot of playmakers, not, very similar to the Eagles, but maybe not as well known because some of they have a bunch of young receivers that can make plays, but aren't really high profile guys yet. Probably the best, but he's always hurt, is Christian Watson. He's a size, speed, physical freak guy, but he's always hurt. Problem is he's healthy early in the season. But you have guys like Romeo Dobbs and Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks and Bo Melton. They can all make plays. They're very deep at receiver. They got 2 tight ends they want to use, and Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. Vic gave me a shot yesterday. I said, does it help to know that they're going to play more 11 personnel? And he said, well, they play 12 because they're 2 tight ends about 50% of the time, at least on early downs. So Vic gave me the clap back. But at the same time, Vic, you said you're going to play nickel most of the game. So why are you playing nickel if there's 2 tight ends out there? So I think I caught Vic in something, but that's me. But yeah, they got, and Josh Jacobs, I think they got worse at running back. They lost Aaron Jones. I think that's a mistake because Aaron
you
Jones
consistently said that. You love Aaron Jones, yeah.
And because he fits their offense so well, because he's the great receiver that everybody likes to talk about here in Philadelphia, but doesn't exist. He's the great receiver that can do some things down the field. Josh Jacobs is a good running back. 2 years ago, he had like 1,600 yards, but that's another part of the problem.
Yeah.
He was way down last year because he had so many touches the year prior. So I think he might be one of those big names in the descent. And I think they actually got a little bit worse. And he's not going to be nearly as impactful in the run and the passing game as Aaron Jones was. So I think that's a little bit of a step back. Their offensive line isn't as good as usual. If you think back to the days of David Bakhtiari being an all-pro season after season. Andre Dillard's there, by the way. He's a backup, but he's there with the Packers. I think it's funny because the Eagles won't admit who their right guard is, and the Packers won't admit who their right guard is, which is, to me, is funny because
it's like the right guard games.
Yeah. It's like, are you worried about the wildfires in Brazil, the political climate, trying to squash free speech? No, the right guards. Everybody needs the competitive advantage for the right guards. So that would be Jordan Morgan or Sean Ryan. And by the way, that's big because Jalen Carter should be able to beat the you-know-what off those whomever starts. And that, to me, is where the Eagles are going to have to win the game if they win the game, because they got to affect the quarterback. Defensively, it's a change. They played for many years poorly, the Vic Fangio scheme, and now they're shifting to something different defensively. So there's a lot unknown. They got some talent up front. Kenny Clark is probably one of the most underrated players in the NFL. They got 2 good edge rushers, Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith. But I never tend to worry. I think the Eagles have the matchup advantage there because of their offensive line. Their linebackers are terrible, very similar to Eric Wilson is starting for them. Eric Wilson from Philadelphia is starting for them.
He had a short stint here in Philly.
So Eagles need to take advantage of that, and they got some talent in the secondary though. Xavier McKinney they signed. That's a player the Eagles really
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah, a
Really
lot of
wanted.
fans want. Yeah, that was there's big talk about him in the
Yeah, but
offseason.
not fan related. They wanted him.
He got a big contract there,
Yeah, he
John.
got
Yeah.
that was the Eagles' first sort of swing at safety. That's who they wanted to come in. Then they shifted to bringing C.J. Gardner Johnson back. But he's a good player. Jair Alexander is one of the best press corners in the NFL. Eric Stokes has got some talent. So, and then if we want to go really deep, the Eagles should have a big advantage at kicker if it comes down to that. The Packers weren't happy with Anders Carlson, who was Daniel Carlson's brother, and they brought in a new kicker off the street. I'd have to look for his name. So, no experience there. On the other hand, they have one of the few kick returners that's probably better than Britton Covey from a punt return, and he does both punt return, kick returns, Keyshawn Nixon. So he could be a bit of an issue on special teams.
No doubt, man. They got a good squad, so it'll be interesting. I'm interested to see Vic Fangio's approach to slowing down this offense, and then also on the inverse, I'm excited to see how Kellen Moore attacks this team, how quickly he ramps up this offense, and what it looks like with Saquon and all those other guys. But going to be a great game on Friday night. Interesting, John. Friday night, right? Like the NFL, you get ready for the NFL. Normally it's Thursday and it's Sunday. Now we got Thursday, we got Friday, we got Sunday, we got Monday. It's like the NFL is the takeover for the full week is underway.
Yeah, I don't like it. Although, locally here in the Philadelphia area, it was cool this morning. So it gets you a little bit into finally a little bit. So a football feel. But Friday night, man, not a big fan. Friday night football.
Yeah, definitely a little brisker weather this morning. At least when I was out on my walk this morning, it was a little brisk out there. I said, it's football time, baby. A little brisk. So that was good stuff. John, the Eagles were putting out some fires this weekend that I don't think they were expecting to put out with political ads. And you talked about the political stuff in Brazil, a lot of politics seeping into the NFL. The Eagles had to dismiss an ad for in the presidential election in the USA, and they dismissed that it wasn't affiliated with them, despite the ad insinuating it was. That was a little interesting. I guess the Eagles PR team wasn't ready for that this weekend, were they?
No, they were surprised and quickly issued a statement.
Yeah,
it is a counterfeit for those who've seen it. It's basically the official candidate of the Philadelphia Eagles.
yeah,
It
which is what
not.
most sponsors use if they're the official,
Yeah,
like the law firm or the official
yeah.
band. Yeah, so
It is not. And they're working to take them down, but the damage is done. I would say, look, anybody who knows anything about Philadelphia, Democrats are winning Philadelphia anyway, so I don't know why they're wasting their time. But yeah, so it's one of those things where it's untoward from the Eagles' perspective. Now, Jeffrey Lurie is, publicly, shall I say, positive towards what would typically be referred to as Democrat policies. But, he's also a businessman, and he's not going to do something that dumb to upset, especially in this climate, to upset basically half of the voting public. So if you do see it, and the city seems to be very slow in taking the stuff down, it's not from the Eagles.
no doubt, John. Let's get back into the game here. I want to ask, what's your most anticipated matchup in this game? I think a lot of people are talking about that deep wide receiver group that you alluded to early in the show versus the Eagles' kind of revamped or reworked secondary. There's talk about the run defense, how they're going to slow down Josh Jacobs and some of their backs there. But anything that sticks out to you in terms of matchups in this game for the Eagles versus the Packers?
Well, I'm very interested to see Quinyon Mitchell, and Vic spoke glowingly
Yes, he
of
did.
Quinyon Mitchell, and he's going to play every snap. Unless he gets banged up, he's going to be out there, whether there's three corners or two. And he mentioned the 12 personnel. In theory, there would be less corners on the field in that type of circumstance. I think, you go into this game, as I mentioned, if you look at Josh Jacobs, 1,653 yards in 2022, 4.9 yards per carry, 12 touchdowns, 300, almost 393 touches in 2022. And he comes back last year, 3.5 yards per carry. And, so I'm kind of, at least if I'm Vic Fangio, I'm coming into this game and I'm not as concerned with the rushing attack versus the passing attack. So, he mentioned, which I'm surprised, but Vic is very, very honest. He was talking about backup nose tackle, and he mentioned Thomas Booker, which I kind of alluded to in my 5 personnel predictions on Sports Illustrated. He's going to be the backup nose tackle. But when he mentioned that, I'm sure we'll be playing a lot of nickel in this game too. I was surprised he admitted that. So there will only be 2 defensive linemen in there at that time. Now, from what that means, don't get excited. In his vernacular, 2 defensive linemen means interior defensive linemen versus edge rushers. So you're going to have 2 edge rushers, 2 interior defensive linemen. He said, hopefully the flow of the game will take care of that. So to me, that says he knows Green Bay's coming after him with those receivers. And that's what I would project. I mean, in theory, if you see the Eagles defense coming off last year, and it's obviously a different defensive coordinator, they've added significant talent, but they're playing the same scheme at least. So you're going to try to take advantage of the linebackers in the middle of the field. You're going to try to take advantage of very young corners. I mentioned a bunch of guys who can make plays. So I think that's the biggest concern would be those receivers. And to a certain degree, they have 2 good tight ends who can take advantage of those linebackers as well.
No doubt. John, what about the Eagles offense and their approach to this game? Packers had that new defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley. I think I remember early in the offseason, you spoke about how you weren't a huge fan of the hire, but Eagles have a new offensive coordinator. They have a new defensive coordinator and Jeff Hafley. Eagles got Kellen Moore. What's the offensive approach coming into this game for Kellen?
Yeah, it was funny because Vic was talking about, they have tons of film on him because of his history and how long he's been around. And they have tons of offense on how the Packers offense operates, tons of film on how the Packers offense operates. The other side is completely new from the Packers' perspective. Kellen Moore coming in. Now, you do have that same type of film because he's been around a while, but you're not relying on what the Eagles have done in the past like the Eagles can do with the Packers' offense. But Kellen Moore can't rely on what Green Bay has done on the past defensively. Now, yeah, I thought Hafley was a weird hire, but they had to get away from what they were doing defensively. And they were playing the Fangio scheme similar to the way the Eagles played it last year, and it was bad. So they had to get away from that. They didn't have the personnel to play it. And I think they're better equipped to run what they're going to do, which would be a more traditional defense. 4 defensive front people, 2 linebackers, nickel, 80% of the time. That's what they're going to do. And they're good up front. And as I mentioned, they have some talent and playmakers in the secondary. But boy, you got to take advantage of Eric Wilson and Quay Walker. If I'm the Eagles,
Right.
I'm attacking them, and they should know to attack Eric Wilson.
Eagles should know that better than anybody else to go for that guy. So almost a similar thing where you could expect maybe the Packers will target the Eagles linebackers a little bit. Well, the Eagles should go right back at them. So it will be interesting to see how the Eagles approach this game, both offensively and defensively. We'll add another voice to the show now, and Jeff Kerr, who will give us his breakdown, his preview of the game. Before I do that, I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here. Already a big crowd this morning. It's game week, everybody, and it feels like it in the chat. I see some people bickering with 49ers fans already. Everybody's jacked up for game week all across the NFL world, especially here in Philadelphia. So great stuff about that. Before I get to our commercial break and get Jeff Kerr up, I want to tell everybody about our newest sponsor, BetUS, leading into the football season. Are you looking for a new sports book this football season? BetUS is the answer, and JAKIB Sports is proud to announce our new partnership for the upcoming season. Right now, everybody, go to betus.com.pa. That link is down in the description right below the video. So if you're on the video, click that description. The BetUS link is the first thing in the description. Receive a 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. If it's good for former Birds quarterback Michael Vick, it's definitely good for Birds 365 and JAKIB Sports' fans. You can live wager on all the major games. We can take these Saquon Barkley prop bets for those who are members and are looking forward to our Saquon Barkley jersey giveaway. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, and they have 24/7 personalized customer service, so you'll get your own account manager on BetUS. So thanks to BetUS. Go to the link in the description below to become a member today. We'll be right back here on Birds 365 with Jeff Kerr.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.